think we're live.
I think we're live.
Hello! There we go. Look at
I was hoping you were gonna do it.
Yeah,
I was hoping you were gonna do it.
Yeah, I had to, dude. I had to do my own little.
Absolutely.
As you guys could tell, up here in the, I guess, right, left corner, depending on how you're looking at it. I'm not Richie. But you guys obviously know me. Welcome to the Wild West Pod. Filling in. Richie's kind of tied up, so not really filling in, but I get to talk first, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, you got control now.
Yeah, we got a really good show today. Ready to obviously full swing into regular season. So we're through all the BS and talking about guys that are just going to be some depth pieces, and now we're getting into the full brunt of when things count. So I imagine the talk amongst us is going to get a bit more real, right?
Yeah.
But today I think we're just planning to kind of quickly review into preseason, the final weeks, and get into what I'm sure everyone wants to talk about. Our team's, our team's 53 cuts, who made it, who we're surprised about, and who we're looking forward to rolling into the regular season. So. I guess I got to introduce everyone, right? I forgot to do that. Used to someone introducing me. So up here to our right, my left, whichever way. I don't know. That's kind of disorienting. We got Roberto here to give you some spicy Chargers coverage and talk about Harbaugh's slashing and rebuilding of that team. And then down below, you know him, you love him. Jack Kenna here to cover a little Raiders talk and some of the moves they made. Got to say, I did look at every team's 53, and I was pretty shocked at some names I didn't see get cut for the Raiders, Jack. So I'm excited to hear your takes and everything on that. So I think
awesome.
Let's go ahead.
Changing by the minute.
Yeah, right. It always does in the NFL. Not for long. I think that kind of applies everywhere across the board. Yeah. But why don't we go ahead and just go over, this final preseason. We'll start with you, Robert. How'd the Chargers do?
Hey, we scored a touchdown on offense. We scored 2 on offense, which is, awesome. That's the complete opposite of what we had the first 2 preseason weeks. More or less the same. Stick should have stayed stuck in the elevator. I don't know if he was one of the ones in there, but they should have just left him there because he was yet again abysmal. He had one great throw to Simi Fehoko down the sideline, and that's pretty much what I think. We'll obviously get into it. What I think earned Fehoko a roster spot was just that play alone. 78-yard touchdown down the sideline.
It only takes one time.
Hey, you know what? That's all it takes. And in a wide receiver room that doesn't have much, going for it right now, I can't be upset about it. Harbaugh's going to take the guys that perform, and this preseason he definitely performed. So that was good to see from the offense. Obviously, Darius Davis showing the speed on that 70-yard end around first play from scrimmage, so that was awesome for a touchdown. And then again, defense just. Balled out. Trey Lance, man, poor guy.
Trash Lance, dude.
5 picks.
They made him look horrible.
I thought that was Easton Stick. I was like, man, when did the Cowboys get Easton Stick?
I thought it was Nathan. I thought it was Nathan Peterman out there, man. I was like, did the Raiders let him go? I was like, man, it was rough to say the least for him. But obviously, I enjoyed watching that. Another guy that I think played onto a roster spot just in that game alone was Tony Jefferson. The dude absolutely balled out. 14 tackles, had a sack, 2 picks. 2 pass breakups, and a forced fumble. I mean, it really doesn't get much. Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that.
Nope.
Dude was just everywhere on the field. One of those picks was in the end zone too. So, I mean, just absolutely balled out. Absolutely deserves it. 10-year vet. I think he retired formerly. So
that's what I was gonna say. I thought he come out. He's like, I'm sick of watching this.
I'm pretty sure I saw him retire. So to see him come back, make the 53 man, that was awesome to see. Hopefully he can give us, that same production. I don't see that happening every week, but man, he can do that for a season. I might minus tackles.
If he sets some records, he does that every game, right?
Oh man, our defense is going to be lights out if he's doing that every week. But so that was awesome to see. And then just the defense all around, great tackling all around. Tied into the special teams a little bit too. One of the guys who didn't end up making the roster, unfortunately, Matt Hankins had a amazing. I think it might go down as a pass breakup, but just beeline tackle. Guy was on the sideline and broke the play up. It was on a 3rd down too, so saved a first, like what would have been a first down catch. So I just love seeing that, even from a guy that didn't make the team. It's just different, man. Like Harbaugh has these guys playing, and it just shows. It's like to the naked eye, it's just easy from what Staley had these guys playing at. So awesome, play from the defense all around. I think my play of the game was the Tremont Morris Brash, another guy on the practice squad, but he one-handed tipped himself a pick or ran it back for a touchdown. It was like a 25-yard pick six. One of the many that Trey Lance threw. Yes. So love to see the D lineman getting in on some of that action. Obviously the one like bad play we let up was that 46-yard touchdown scramble from Lance. That was pretty much it. Everything else, the defense played amazing. And then that's kind of getting it. I think most. Yeah, exactly.
Well, Lance said, "Hey, I don't want to throw the ball anymore, so I'm just going to run it because
he may be a better runner than he is quarterback or throwing it, I should say." But yeah, it was rough. And then just showing some kicker love. Dicker the kicker, finishing off the preseason perfect, 6 for 6. Kicker. Yeah.
Dicker
the kicker.
Kick some dicks, right?
Yeah, kicking dicks. And
dude, he's just slanging it. Hey, man. So that was awesome to see from him. Finish out the preseason perfect. Obviously had that 58-yarder back in week 1. So, yeah, a great wrap. Great end to the preseason. Obviously, the Chargers dropped the first 2, so nice to see him ended on a dub. I know the preseason doesn't mean much, but still getting a win for these guys. I don't know, a little bit of.
I think the Chiefs haven't won a single game. So.
Yeah, I think you guys went 0 for 3, but
think they're worried?
We're 0 for 2 with a tie. So
yeah, yeah, exactly.
So you're ahead of all of us right now.
Hey, listen, man, that's actually crazy to think about. But the Chiefs don't care nothing about preseason, but ended on a good note. Love to see it from the guys, and I think that's about it for me. I think the more I have to talk about is just from the 53 man. So, Alex, how'd your guys do?
Well, I do have a question. Did any?
Oh yeah.
Was there any starters that played, or was it just all?
No,
the Chiefs didn't play any, so I assume last game. Most people don't, but I always like to know new coach, new coach, new system. Do they make them play a little bit? But Harbaugh's kind of been around, so
yeah. I don't think any of the starters played. I'm pretty sure all of them sat. I think the only one, and I wouldn't really consider him a starter. He is the starting punt returner though. Is Darius Davis, and he had that 70-yard
place in the table.
So. Yeah, so I think
the table, baby.
He in that sense he is a starter, but no, I don't think any of like the actual offense or defensive starters played.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, like I said, I didn't get to watch it, but always like to see how new coaches do the preseason, because I feel like some new guys come in from college and they're like, we're doing it this way, the old-fashioned way.
Yeah,
it's just like. Either goes good or not well.
Everyone just does it different.
Yeah. And shit, knock on wood, the Chargers have been relatively healthy through, preseason and training camp. Obviously, the injury to Herbert, but everything I've seen, kind of going off trail a little bit, but everything I've seen off that is looking like he's okay. everything. I mean, he's been quoted that he feels no pain. So like, hey, I'm taking the man at his word. If he tells me he's 100%, then I'm not going to fault him for, if the play starts to decline, that's on you, my guy. You're coming out saying that, you're 100%. I'm taking you at your word.
That's
Yeah.
the best feeling you can have for the whole preseason right there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
100%. So that I've, as far as I'm concerned with that, I'm good, ready for the season to kick off. And yeah,
Boom.
Nice.
Yeah.
ready.
Well, yeah. So Chiefs. I mean, I already kind of prefaced they lost. Finished 0-3 in the preseason.
Didn't matter.
Played the Bears on Thursday. And like I was bitching pre-show, like every Chiefs game's been somehow blacked out of my area, so I have to like watch it off to the side on my laptop. So it hasn't been
As enjoyable.
totally as enjoyable as it should have been. But I mean, really, honestly, the biggest theme from the Chiefs game, they lost 34-21. So I mean, kind of played like crap across the board.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, I'll say that the third game I think was beneficial in that a lot of guys either played themselves off the roster or confirmed that the looming decision to cut them is a good one. It was really kind of the theme from this game was, just confirmed, and we'll talk about that later, obviously, but just confirmed some. I mean, I think bigger names that the Chiefs ultimately decided to move on from, just because of how performances were last year and how things have been as the preseason's gone. That's kind of, really the biggest thing. Outside of that, Carson Steele continued to steal the show in the preseason.
Nice
And
pun.
yeah,
Very punny.
and he was really, honestly, he's been a big bright spot of this preseason, and that only continued on. He was kind of the focal point of the offense because no starters played. He was pretty much running the show till like the fourth quarter, and he had 4 carries for 50 yards and a touchdown, averaged 12 and a half a carry. That's pretty
Wow.
tight.
Damn.
Yeah, that's he's been like your star this whole preseason.
Literally,
Yeah.
yeah. He is. I think, like I said, he's been what I think Chiefs fans envisioned the rugby player being. Just coming in and like stealing the show. The only difference is I would be willing to bet Carson Steele's played football for a good chunk of time. But yeah, that's really it. There wasn't like a whole lot of bright spots other than seeing some young guys continue to get reps and putting up some stats. There weren't any sacks or turnovers or anything that exciting that happened in that realm. It was mostly, like I said, the Carson Steele show, and just give the giant bowling ball the football and let them do stuff with it. Was kind of it. So excited that the preseason's done, and now I can go back to watching non-blacked out games and red zone and everything else. And now we're getting into, like I said, where they're counting. So going to be nice to just see how the new additions, mainly like the deep threat components and this fullback utility position and other things that haven't been in this offense. I'm just ready to see how those go. So goodbye preseason. Hello regular season.
Yeah,
like you said, I know the rugby player didn't work out, but hey, it's you kind of take it as like if this guy didn't work out, but he did, kind of like
Well, yeah, and they tried to bring the rugby player back. I guess Richie was, to his credit, he was right. It was Jacksonville. They're dumb. So, it was, but to go from an international player that you thought would do that to an undrafted guy that you get in the same, that's
basically the same thing.
Rich get richer, right? So,
yeah.
Like I said, I'm just really curious to see how, because I think he's definitely more athletic of the, fullback role than they've had in the past with like Michael Burton and Anthony Sherman and those guys. So I'm interested to see if Reed makes more of an effort to like get him the ball than he did, because those guys were mostly just blocking decoys and then occasional shovel pass or slip screen, something like that. So, but I mean, he's shown all preseason he can run the football. So it'll be interesting to see if they give him carries. Once now that they count, we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of the Chiefs right there in a nutshell. And I'm more excited to talk about some of the guys that we showed the door. But we gotta cover a
Don't
couple
let it
other
hit you on the way out.
couple other games here. So Jack, why don't you enlighten us on the Raiders' final
Yeah,
preseason
so the last preseason game was actually the coolest preseason game of the whole thing. They played the Niners. Niners started their starters for almost the whole first half.
Bit 'em in
So
the ass.
again, which is different. The Raiders started nobody. They started, they were down 10-0, and it looks like, that's what it should be. Then like the first couple weeks, what the shit show it was, just letting everybody run right by you. Minnesota 140 yards, 6.5 yards a carry. And it turned out to be, pretty unbelievable. They played well against the Niners starters, which I was kind of shocked. And then they played awesome against their backups. I mean, they had I think the first 2 games, they had 7 pressures, 0 sacks. And they had 20 pressures and 3 sacks.
Damn.
So, yeah, I mean, it was like
game.
And it's a game. It's like unbelievable. So, I mean, it's like, okay, where did this come from?
Damn.
And it's crazy because, we'll talk about it. But, all these guys that, did all this stuff, they're not on the team anymore. So,
Hell yeah.
But one person that, there's a couple guys that, that did shine in that game. Actually, it's an old Bronco. So I was going to, wishing Richie was here for this just to kind of get his opinion in Tyreek McAllister. So when he was on Denver, he was a running back. He's got like the 4.34 speed, but he was playing running back and didn't do very well. So they let him go, and he played, different league of football. And man, that kid shined. He ran back a punt for 81 yards, and it hasn't been done in I don't know, 2018, something ridiculous like that. And then he had a couple catches for 53 yards. So that's one guy that definitely he worked his way onto that roster. So it was a cool game. It was just great to see that finally the defense kind of step up to their billing, even with no starters playing at all against, the Niners who having starters in the game for almost half the game. So, and it was a tie. So again, 2-1. I don't care. I'll take it. Anytime, the Niners, if you can beat the Niners or don't lose to the Niners, being a Northern California guy, I'm all about that.
Right.
And it's going to be fun talking about some of these guys that had great games that just aren't on the roster anymore. And it's going to be, interesting too, like guys who made the roster. It's like, really? Okay.
Over them?
Yeah, over guys that you kind of expected to kind of make it. Not totally, but kind of. Everyone's got their different opinions. And Raider Nation definitely has theirs. Oh, and by the way, I got to do this real quick. And I've been meaning to do this every single week, but I haven't done it. So Ed Winchell, Cool Kev, Erica Ortiz, my boy Anthony Estrada, Salute Nation. Glad you're in the chat.
Saluting out to the fans out there. Hell yeah. I was gonna say, talking about the Niners, I kind of going off just a little bit of track here. I really don't think they're gonna be that great this year. I'm expecting a pretty noticeable fall off. Maybe not to the point where they miss the playoffs, but I definitely don't think they're going to be that dominant, bully team.
I agree. And they're kind of flirting with time. Because they're going to have to pay Purdy. You already got Ayuk. You got all this money. It's and
Trent Williams is holding out.
Elijah Mitchell's out for the year. So they already not that that's obviously McCaffrey's show, but Mitchell has always been an effective piece they've used.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Well, you look at it, it's like they look at it's like the Niners. They're not there almost for brotherhood and say, let's go and get our ring. It's like, no, give me my money. Because I like Jones. He's like, okay, I'll do money, but you know what? In his mind, he's like, I'm always going to come back. He knew that. So I'm going to be there, and I'm going to work with the team. Where I feel like Ayuk and Trent Williams, They're just like, give me the coin or I go.
Oh wow.
and I think it's I heard someone talking about, it's those guys are taking that mindset knowing they're gonna have to pay Purdy next year. Purdy's gonna Purdy's gonna ask to be the highest paid QB in the league. That money's not gonna be there. So it's like they're already dealing with these issues. It's gonna be an interesting time for San Francisco.
I got a little bit of breaking news here.
What's that?
Chargers traded for Taylor Heineke
Oh,
from the Falcons. So we just got
Heineke for what, a seventh?
Yeah, I don't even know.
Sixth
Nothing.
money?
Nothing's been confirmed yet. I don't know what
traded
we gave
him
up.
for a washing machine.
Yeah, so
Stick is gonna get the stick now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gone. Stick
He's
his ass on a bus.
So so 6th round pick. So
we traded him for a washing machine.
Yep.
Taylor.
You know what though? This is probably the best thing the Chargers could have
good.
done. We were saying it last week. I was saying it last week that they needed a competent QB, and this is perfect. I never even thought about Heineke, but this is honestly like the best thing. Somebody who has starter experience in this league, has played, a little bit of. He very well may be. He very well may be. He may see Jimmy Garoppolo over there. But yeah, this is awesome.
That's it. Yeah, and Heineke's a proven backup.
Yep.
He literally
he's on a rookie deal.
Yeah, don't pay him anything.
Yeah, think of what the Commanders and I guess
Falcons.
The Falcons. Both of those situations he came in halfway in the season and got it. I think he got Commanders to the playoffs. So that's definitely an upgrade.
Yeah.
If something does happen with Herbert, he's obviously not Herbert, but I think he's enough of a game manager that things can keep things more afloat than obviously last year. Took two snaps, and you're like, damn, they're gonna suck. Sorry.
Yeah, it's over.
Oh no, we suck again.
As soon as it's so crazy too. Like as soon as that injury was announced for Herbert and it was like he's done for the season, I'm like, all right, cool. Like we're losing every game. Oh yeah, saw this message in chat. Very much appreciated.
He said, "All right, baby, come on, Easton Stick, you got this."
Yeah.
Oh,
I was like, there is no chance in hell Stick is gonna do anything, and like. It was crazy too. The only game we were even like close into potentially win was that against the Bills, and I was like, please, for the love of God, don't tell me Stick is gonna win us this game. We need to lose and just tank for a draft pick. But yeah, so love that. Love that we're getting a backup. This is amazing. I assume Stick is gone. I don't know what they're gonna do with that. If they're gonna run 3 QBs, I would assume not.
Know. No, I don't think so.
Aren't they still trying to figure out because didn't the owners or someone just like denied making it to where the third QB doesn't count as like a roster spot or there's limited movements or something. But I think that's still like in limbo.
Well, from what I understand, it's like, yes, that's going to be the case, but they have to go make the practice squad. And then, because again, another team can pick them up if they really wanted them. So, but yeah, I think that's the case is that he's not going to count as a roster spot as like an emergency quarterback.
Yeah, I agree with Kev here. It's probably old P squad. Who else is going to take him? Sense. What other team's going to take him? Let's be real.
Nobody. He's a waste of a practice squad spot. But whatever. Like I'm not too upset about it. At least he's not on the 53 man.
Yeah. No, that's like I said, that's a good move. In my opinion.
There you go. That was the last thing. That was the last thing I needed.
That's interesting because I when I saw that the Falcons kept Cousins, Penix, and Heineke, I was like, damn.
Yeah.
That's kind of like that's a lot of big names for one room.
Yeah.
Like
well, yeah.
So there's a point.
Yeah, a guy that's a proven starter, somebody you hope to be your starter one day, and somebody that's already been a starter and has starter experience. It's usually not. That doesn't usually happen.
I was looking forward to the Raiders to like tackling, Herbert on his foot. Just aim for the foot the whole game. They get Stick in there.
Yeah, now it's
whatever.
Now it's the Heineke baby.
Oh, yeah,
that's
Taylor
a good move
Heineke.
though.
Taylor
I
Heineke.
suppose to round out this preseason little rundown, we should probably briefly discuss the Broncos. Just kidding. They did win. I'm not full disclosure. I did not watch the game, but
Yeah, me
it
neither.
does look like
Me
they
either.
won 38-12. So they did. From what I saw, it looks like Zach Wilson did pretty good.
Yeah, they didn't play starters either, right?
I don't think so. Let me see if I can pull up a little snap analysis here.
Shoot, if I would have known Richie wasn't going to be here, I would have, told Pinky when I was watching his show last night to hop on in for him.
Come on in, brother. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just looks like there's a lot of backups, but Zach Wilson was 16 for 25, 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's pretty that's pretty good. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I like this, Kev. Why don't we just, instead of talking about the game, which none of us have already admitted to knowing, why don't we pick up? I think the last couple episodes have been pretty heavily riddled with Bo Nick's propaganda, one way or the other. Our slander, maybe, is the better characteristic term for that. But yeah, I mean, I honestly, I think Bo Nix has been way better than expected or as advertised. Just
Absolutely.
in watching, and like obviously I haven't watched every game, but I feel like I've watched a good chunk of the drives he's been a part of. And I mean, I think I said it, Robert said it. Like, after watching the first week, I'm like, there's no way you don't make that guy your starter. Like,
nope.
You can't at that. I mean, he went out there, he didn't look like he was dumping in his pants, and he made like good decisions to move the ball, which is honestly something you haven't seen out of the quarterback position in Denver in the last two plus years, really. Let's be honest. I mean,
I'd argue since Manning.
I guess Case Keenum was good like that one. No, he wasn't good. He was good the year before that. No, yeah, it's since Manning. Yeah. He looks like a Bronco.
we talked about it too, and I mean, like the thing is with Nick's, like, and with starting him right away, is if you have a legitimate veteran that can go in and there's like actual things he could teach your young QB, I'm all for sitting the rookie and having him learn behind. It's what Jordan Love did. That is, it couldn't have been further from that situation. You have a career bust and a career backup that, I mean, like, hasn't really played much. I could probably count his starts on one hand. Like, I just felt, and obviously we talked about it a lot, not to get too much into it, but yeah, I mean, like you said, Alex, I just feel like Nick's easily provided you the best chance to win just in what you saw in that preseason. Now, if he had come out and he was, unpoised, just shaky, didn't look sure of himself, then yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, sit him, you start Wilson or you start Stidham and let him get some confidence. But that dude went out there and looked like he was born to play quarterback. So like, hey, who am I to say not to start this guy? I've always been a fan of starting rookies. Broncos, I think, as to much of my chagrin, I really hope they haven't found their next QB.
Yeah, no doubt.
Fingers crossed. But like you said, I mean, you can't take someone in the first round and sit them behind Jared Stidham or Zach Wilson. You can take someone in the first round and sit them behind Aaron Rodgers or Alex Smith or someone like that.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
he looks like he's been there before. I mean, the kids look super sharp, and it's like it's made a lot of these Bronco fans, get hyped. I mean, they're hyped out there.
Oh, they're crazy, dude. They got a little Manning mania going on. I think they got Peyton.
They have a good, they have a solid defense. Obviously, Rich expressed concern about that O-line. They play. I'll say this: the defense plays probably higher than to what their talent level is. I'll say that.
What I say to coach looking at their rosters like in Major League, you're like, who the hell is this guy? Like, this guy's dead. Mark him off.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like
yeah, dude. Seriously though, Kev, I mean, what do you get out of those?
Really, it
pretty much nothing.
Not a whole lot. Nothing. Well, I know Richie's not going to be happy. His kid Patrick is no longer on the team.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I I suppose we're off for the preseason now. We covered them all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we
I
kind
think we
of
can go into
why don't we
53
just stay?
man.
Why don't we stay on the Broncos since
I'm
we're
with
all
it.
we're kind of tag teaming this? But yeah, I mean, I was honestly as an outsider looking in at their cuts. I mean, that was definitely the name I was the most shocked about because you talk about. I mean, we all know like Tim Patrick has been an effective wide receiver for Denver. Unfortunately, I think the last 2 years he hasn't played.
No, he's just been hurt.
But like I mean, talk about just the brutality of the business, right? Because you got this guy who's literally rehabbed through 2 different injuries and probably been told this whole time, like, we're bringing you back, Tim. Like, we gave you this money. You know, we want you here. And then the minute he's healthy, makes it through a preseason, and it's like, nah, we're good.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, yeah, that was the biggest one for me.
Kev.
No, honestly though. Honestly.
Hey, where did he go? He went to Detroit or
Yeah, Detroit. I think he went to Detroit's practice squad, I think. Which is wild that he's on a practice squad to me. I thought for sure somebody would pick him up to the 53 man. There's definitely
and I wonder.
out there.
I mean, I guess we probably wouldn't know, right? But I wonder if there's some injury component or some lingering thing.
There's got to be. I mean, why not just put him on IR again?
But I don't know, because if you're cutting someone due to injury, don't you have to reach like an injury settlement with them? And they would have. I mean, that would have been disclosed, I think. So maybe, unless it's all just kind of under the table, and it's like, hey, you're dealing with this. We're going to cut you. See if we can get you on the practice squad, and then here comes Detroit.
I mean,
here comes Dan Campbell, like, hey, brother,
come over, brother.
Catch me in the 8
Dan Campbell sounds a lot like
Hulk Hogan.
He sounds a lot like Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I think they're interchangeable characters, really.
I wanted to address what Rick said. I will not be going to the Raiders-Chargers game to open up the season. I really wish I could. I tried my hardest, but that was a tough game to go to. I hopefully may be going to the Baltimore Chargers game later on in the season. I think it's a Monday night, maybe. Yeah, the Harbaugh Bowl. So I may.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah, so I may be going to that. We'll wait and see.
And I'll just say this, Rick. You know, it's not the even though Chargers are home, it's the Raider game. We are the home team there. So
okay, whatever. I've seen your stadium get filled up by Niners fans. Come on.
Absolutely, but we fill up your stadium, so it's a home game.
It's a home game. Raiders fans are very adamant about that, Robert.
Appreciate it,
That's
Rick.
something I've learned in my time.
Yeah. We'll see.
Don't ever tell them an LA game is not a home game for them because it effing is. All right.
Hey, that's one thing that we're gonna be blessed with this year.
Everywhere.
We got 2 games out, in your stadium. You guys and the Rams. So.
Oh, that's right. You guys are playing. Yeah, the NFC. Oh, you guys take on the Rams this year?
Little homecoming tour.
Interesting. Are we? We're not playing that. No, we're playing the South this year, right? Our division.
Yeah, that might just be
the AFC.
We're playing the AFC North and the NFC South.
NFC South, yeah. Yeah, okay. So that's just your. Oh, that's your one-off game. That's right, because of the Week 18 edition.
Put it in.
Hater, always a Raider. Whatever,
LA, dude.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. I'm excited.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I mean, looking at the rest of the cuts for the Broncos, I mean, not gonna lie, it's not a lot of people I recognize. But I mean, I don't think there's any. I saw your boy Michael Bandy didn't make it through. Didn't make it through the ranks of Denver, but
I didn't even know he was over there. That's crazy, Michael Bandy. Oh man, when that guy's starting, that your receiver room is done for.
But yeah, I mean, I think I won't speak for Richie, but I think that Tim Patrick and then probably Jalen Virgil might be the 2 that he was surprised about. I mean, obviously, definitely more Tim Patrick than Virgil because I think Virgil is a kind of an edge player, anyways. But I mean, definite. I mean, he's got speed too, and he's been pretty. He's been effective at times. So
yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's interesting. They must have a lot of praise or confidence in Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin to move on. from these two more established guys while also getting rid of Judy. Granted, like Judy, I mean, he didn't do, what did he do?
Yeah,
So,
we were almost like addition by subtraction.
almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. They're wide receivers. I thought you would put him on IR for the season. He's got talent, so.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be interesting what they do with their wide receivers now.
I think the most shocking thing to me is that Troy Franklin made the roster over him. And that to me kind of seems like, did Bo Nix kind of get in their ear and was like, hey, if I'm going to be starting, my boy's got to be with me. Like, cause that's I mean, it's a rookie and he was showing like he was struggling a little bit in the preseason, had some drop issues. So we'll see.
I don't know.
Again, it goes back to the old thing. Availability is the best ability. So there you go.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense to keep Franklin. I mean, like it's a level of comfortability. I mean, I think the Patrick thing, it probably came down to like Peyton didn't have any ties to Patrick. I mean,
that's true.
He wasn't, quote, his guy. Like they signed him before Peyton got there. And if you're starting a rookie QB, like it just makes sense for the comfortability of like, hey, here's your number one target in college. He's on the team with you. He's out there, so
that's
like
true.
it just kind of helps. It helps ease things along. And, I mean, he's a very similar skill set to 3 or 4 other guys they've had in that room that are older.
Yeah.
So.
Well, how long is Patrick supposed to be out? Again, I don't
even know if he is. I don't think he is hurt.
Wasn't he playing in the preseason?
Oh yeah, that was pure speculation from me there, Jack, that he was injured or I don't.
Well, I know he hasn't played the last couple of years, so I don't know if he's been doing or not really. But I know it's just that Richie loves the kid, so now he's going to have to, get rid of that jersey.
He is 30, so I mean, he's kind of up there for a guy that hasn't played the last. Let's see, torn ACL in 2022, torn Achilles in 2023, and then in August 26th yesterday? No, 2 days ago, they tried to seek a trade and then released him.
Wow.
I wonder what his cap numbers look like. That'd be interesting to kind of hear too.
He signed to November 2021. He signed a 3-year, $34.5 million extension. So what do you think? Probably like 15, 17 of that is guaranteed, maybe.
Yeah, if that.
So so I mean, he was pretty much 2 years of that didn't play anything. Because he got hurt in preseason both times. So
that's tough.
It sucks. But like I said, that's just like it speaks to the magnitude of it is a business, right? Like it's like you said, Jack, availability is the best thing. And I mean, I could even attest to that. Like my freshman year in college, I started the last 6 games, and then we got a new coach. Then my next year I tear my ACL, I get a new coach, and he puts me at like last string. He's like, "Well, all I know about you is you're injured," and I was like, "What the hell?" So,
wow.
I mean, think about it. I mean, that's probably how a lot of coaches look at it. Like, hey, I mean, Peyton's like, "Hey, I'm coming in. Here's this guy who's on the wrong side of 25 and like tore his ACL and Achilles, both pretty crucial things for someone that's got to make cuts and be explosive. Like, all right." I'm good.
Yeah, that's tough.
Well, and if he's on the 3rd year, I'm sure there's no guaranteed money, and there's got to probably be a cap savings in there too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And the Broncos are, they're pretty strapped on their cap.
Yeah,
they will be.
They're absolutely strapped. I mean, that's why I truly think that this year for Broncos needs to be like, I think mild expectations and just hope you see flashes of like kind of like Herbert's rookie year. I mean, obviously that. He went above and beyond, I'd say, probably what was expected of him.
Right.
But like it wasn't like he came in and just lit everything on fire. I mean, didn't like totally light it up, but didn't stink it up. And you're like, you could see flashes of like, okay, this dude we build around him, like it'll be good. And I think that's what you need to see this year, just because they don't have they didn't have the resources or the money to really do that. So I mean, it's the other way of looking about rebuilding, right? Like, let's see if we get our franchise guy in here, rework our money around, and then year 2, 3 of his rookie deal, we have all the we can do what the Texans did and just bring in everyone and have a 2-3 year window with that and go from there.
Yeah, I mean that seems to be the blueprint that everybody in the NFL is trying to follow, at least, where you try to get your rookie QB and you find out in the first year or so, like, yeah, this is our guy, and then you just stack talent around him and see, like, hey, we don't have to pay him anything right now, and can we just put enough of a roster together that we can go win this thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's a tough one.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't think there's really much else to discuss with the Broncos cuts. I mean, at least for me, didn't see any Tim Patrick, kind of a shocking cut, but I mean, other than that, it seemed like there wasn't any other big names, but probably because they cut all the big names right at the end of the regular season, so it's a little
that
bit,
Russell Wilson dead trap.
Yeah, a little bit different there, but yeah. So why don't we'll go ahead and transition over to you, Robert, and let's talk about the Chargers and the moves they made.
Our 53 man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think probably one of the biggest surprises of players that didn't stay with us was Donald Parham, and that he was actually one of the guys that went over to Denver. I guess maybe with that kind of makes the Jalen Virgil departure makes a little bit more sense. So I was kind of, I guess, Stone Smart took the spot over him. They just like him more as a blocker, and he is he is a great blocker. Yeah, he
What
the
Harbaugh
dude,
wants, dude.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say that's what Harbaugh's looking for in his tight ends. So him, Dissly, another obviously amazing, great blocking tight end, and Hayden Hurst to round out that tight end room. Not really expecting much from Hayden Hurst this year. So really anything he can give us will be a plus, because he's another guy I really don't think. Right now, I think it's Gus Edwards, running back 1 on the depth chart, but I really see it being like a pretty even 50-50 split between those two, or maybe like a 45-45 with a little bit of a Kamani Vidal in there. But yeah, Kamani.
Yeah, I think with Dobbins too, like he's just been so injured. You can't really, I mean, you got to ease him into a role, whatever role that is,
Yeah, and both of them are coming off an injury from last year too.
Gus too, right?
Yeah.
But
so
Dobbins has kind of been more of the Tim Patrick line than a one-off.
Years. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
No, 100%. But so you're definitely going to be, like I said, I definitely expect to see. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a running back by committee. We actually added another running back, one of Harbaugh's guys, Hassan Haskins from the Titans, got him off waivers. So we're probably, Jarrett Patterson was another running back that he was running back 3 that made the initial 53. He's probably going to get waived. So to make room for Haskins. So we'll see what he can bring. But I kind of like the running back room where it's at. And then a couple other guys. We actually just traded for Elijah Molden, another guy from the Titans, DB, former 3rd round pick. And he had a pretty all right season last year. Nothing crazy. It's obviously just a depth piece, but 73 total tackles, had a pick, forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. Yeah, exactly. Protect the shield. Yeah, he was a beast at Michigan. I think he was a senior, team captain as a senior. So this is just a reuniting of two Michigan guys.
Yeah, Chris, protect shield again. Salute, bro. Yeah, I'm a mod for his channel. Yeah, he's a big Michigan guy, so he can tell you anything about the Michigan players.
Oh, hell yeah. Love to hear that. Love to hear that.
Hello.
Kind of looking at it, the rest of the roster, though, a lot of guys, like I said, and I think you mentioned this too, Jack. A lot of guys that make plays don't end up making the final 53 man, and it sucks to see. But a couple of guys that are on our practice squad from that game. Matt Hankins, who had an amazing play in the preseason where he literally just like ripped the ball out of the wide receiver's hands for an interception. It was just like he wanted it more. So that was an awesome play. So he's cornerback. He's on the practice squad. Cornelius Johnson, obviously Michigan guy. He's on the practice squad.
You'd be a fly on the wall for that one, right? Like, hey, got to cut.
How many Michigan guys do you have on your team?
You're just not cutting
it. On our team, probably like 2, but on our practice squad and our teams, probably about 5 or so. Yeah, we definitely got some Michigan guys, especially now just getting that Hassan Haskins guy. That's another Michigan.
Yeah.
But I know a couple of the Michigan guys. I didn't put them on our list, but the Michigan center, I think Barnhart is his last name. He's on our practice squad. So a lot of Michigan dudes on the practice squad, not as many on the starting 53. But Alex Leatherwood, you know him, Jack, very well. He's on the practice squad.
You can keep him.
Yeah,
I called him Leatherface.
Because he was ugly and terrible. Yeah,
he was pretty terrible.
Right.
Because he was scary out there. When you put him out there, you were scared to watch him play.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, he's on there too. Trayvon Morris-Brash, the guy I mentioned earlier with that insane one-handed tip pick to himself. He's on the he was a guy I was surprised low-key didn't make the 53 man. They ended up going with Tahir Tart, another Tennessee guy that we got. It's like 3 Tennessee guys in just this offseason, like the last like 3 weeks almost, or 2 weeks. But he balled out in the preseason. I think he only played like 2 preseason games with us, and he had 15 run defense stops. He had a 21.4% or 21.4 run stop percentage, which was the highest among the team. And he had a 77 run defense grade, which was the best. So another guy just looking to plug up the holes. Obviously Harbaugh is trying to control the trenches, and he's just another guy that he really liked and thinks he can do it. I mean, he balled out. I can't deny it. He had a really good preseason, so he definitely deserved it. But just like I said, sucks to see for some of these other guys that don't make it.
That's the type of play your team really needs, though. I mean,
yeah,
100%.
It's something our team has been lacking since Marty, if I'm being honest. Just like that physical toughness, where they go in every week and you're scared to play those teams. I mean, those that like 06 to 09, those Chargers defenses were brutal with Sean Merriman leading that. I mean, they were a force to be reckoned with, and that was a reason why they were so they obviously made the AFC Championship game in 2006. But so yeah, definitely. yeah, they did. But with Rivers torn ACL and all.
Yeah.
But yeah, rounding out the 50 or some of the guys to the practice squad, CJ Okoye, who's our international player, takes up that spot, and then Isaiah Spiller, who was on the roster last year for a bit. I think as the running back 3 for a bit. So he's on there.
Last year?
Yeah. They was last year or the year before they draft. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, just one of those guys that you really had high hopes for, and it just never panned out. So that sucks to see. And then another guy, Notre Dame guy that we lost, our safety, Thomas Harper, went over to your guys's, to the Raiders, Jack.
Absolutely.
Shocker, Tom Telesco loves his Notre Dame guys. So
I love my Notre Dame guys too. So I'm glad to get home. He was on my talk list tonight, but thank you for bringing it up.
You did it.
So Robert, which one of these? I guess which was your biggest shock cut?
Definitely Donald Parham. I was shocked to just see him straight out cut. I thought he was somebody we try to get on the practice squad, but I mean, it makes sense. He has starting experience, and he's 6'8". The dude is just red zone threat.
He's one of those players
through.
I get in every fantasy draft I do in Madden, because he's
just cut.
A 6'8" tight end with like 80-something speed, and you're like,
yep,
yeah, I could work with that.
Go around 15 yards out.
It's like Coach. I think Coach had talked about that to me, and just kind of said like what you said. He can't block, and that's what Harbaugh wants. His tight ends, and that's what very clearly where this is pivoting to is to a offense that's fueled by the running game. So.
Absolutely.
You don't got room for a basketball player out there trying to catch.
But I mean, it's a great pickup for the Broncos. I think if he can get some some starting reps. I think Nix is gonna love him come red zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. His biggest thing though, and it's at that size, it's really tough. Is just stay healthy. He's always been hampered with injuries, whether it's an ankle or a knee. It's always just seems like he's nicked here and there. So wish him the best. Obviously not in games against us, but yeah, that's definitely the biggest cut for us. Yeah. What about
except for Sunday?
Yeah, exactly. So I know I mentioned Thomas Harper. So I think that's just a good way to segue into your 53, man.
Yeah. It was a surprising, honestly, it's like, I talked about the Niner game. A lot of guys played well. And, Snowden, again, another really big guy from, defensive end.
Mm-hmm.
Would he play for the Charge? I know he played for Tampa.
He's a Telesco guy.
He's in Tom T. But yeah, I was kind of shocked that he went. I was shocked that they didn't put Tyree, list him over as, a defensive tackle because he had not shown anything. And they only kept 4. So I was like, oh, really? I'm like, not a fit for your defensive ends? I'm like, so that was a really big surprise cut. Another big cut, was Wu Governor. He's a UDFA. And he stepped in and he outplayed Devonshire, who's the Raiders' 7th round draft pick out of Pittsburgh. He did a better job. And it's like Devonshire made the roster and Wu got cut. But I'm glad they got both those guys on the practice squad right now. So that was a little shocking, but then it made kind of sense in the way of getting, Harper, because Harper, safety, he also plays the slot.
Mm-hmm.
He did that, at Notre Dame. So now I can kind of see why they made the moves that they did. So I do think that is an improvement from where they were before. Other things the Raiders did, again, 4 defensive ends and Tyree's one of them. They kept 7 linebackers. 7.
Damn.
And the biggest name of a guy that no one in Raider Nation talks about is Kane. I don't know how you say his name. Kaia Kane Mwaga. I'm like, really, who is this guy? And how is he making a squad? And being the 7th linebacker. So when I thought they pick up other players, he would be the first one gone. But it turns out Eichenberg is on the short-term IR, so 4 weeks. So after 4 weeks, then I'm sure he's going to be off the roster itself. So that was a couple big ones, but not surprises. Oh, almost another one. Jaden Grant, another UDFA. He played stellar, but I was shocked that he did not make the roster, and especially with Trey Turner, who played for Air Force, won the trophy for being the best defensive back of the year. He's a safety, though. He's on short-term IR, and I was still shocked to see him go in the way of Jaden Grant. But I didn't see him on the practice squad, so I'm sure somebody picked him up. The not surprises is, what we talked about in the Niners game, who definitely played his way onto the roster with Tyreek McAllister. That kid looks like – it's short thing, but he just looks so explosive. He reminds me of Alex, like your Dante Hall, just super explosive, out there and has some receiving ability. So I was super happy to see him make it. Another UDFA, Amari Gainer, I'm sorry. Gainer, he was flying around that Niners game and he just looked phenomenal. So I am so happy that kid got it. I bet you, AP was just loving it as being a linebacker himself. And I don't know if being AP being a linebacker is another reason why they want to keep so many linebackers, or
very well maybe why.
Well, that or kickoffs, the new kickoff rule. You want a bunch of linebackers out there. So interesting ones, that played well was Butler, which, I can see him letting him go, but they kept Brian Young.
No, I thought you guys
cut him. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you guys cut him.
They did. They kept him on the original 53. And they signed Jonah Lua, Laulu. I don't know how you pronounce his name, but they signed him, and then they let Young go. Which, again, the Matador thing we talked about over the last couple of shows. just letting so many runs go up and so many yards. I didn't expect him, honestly, to make the roster, and most of the Raider Nation didn't expect, him to make the roster either. So Christian Wilkinson, that was a kid that I thought had a good chance to make the roster. Didn't make it, but he's on the practice squad. They did let Devonshire go after initially making the roster. And they did sign a guy right before the show started, Darnay Holmes. He was a 4th-round draft pick in 2002 for the New York Giants. And he has experience with Patrick Graham.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh my God, you're terrible, Alex.
I know. You said 2002. I'm like, damn.
I mean, 2002. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know.
2020.
Like, holy hell, that's like, I was like 50.
He's like Asian, yeah.
He was on the on that Super Bowl team.
Super Bowl team, yeah.
That's why he's there. AP, they were teammates.
Oh,
So, hey,
yeah.
bro, why don't you come play with me? Play for
Well,
me.
2002, your Raiders were in the Super Bowl that year. They didn't win it, but they were there. But yeah, that was a mistake. Sorry, guys.
It's just,
Can't read my own writing. Got it written down on a notepad.
yeah, it's curious though. You talk about the what'd you say, 7 or 6 linebackers?
7.
7. Yeah, I mean, I know we've talked about it on the show before, but I mean, part of you has to wonder, kind of like you said, did they do that for the change in special teams and need for kind of some like bigger athletic guys to cover on kickoff and and kick return and those kind of newer things, and maybe that was the reason they kept a little extra depth on top of obviously like Eichenberg's injury and stuff. But I don't know, I guess I didn't do like a deep dive into kind of like those positions we talked about of like tight end and running back and linebacker, safety, like to see if teams kept a little bit more than they would in the past because of those changes in kickoff and things like that.
Well,
Yeah,
and it's so true. I mean, there hasn't been that much talk about it. Have you guys like seen anything really? Like, just anyone doing podcasts on just filming all that stuff and just showing what, coaches are doing?
No, I mean, I don't know if there's too much. I don't know if there's really much creativity you can do when you have to like everyone's 5 yards engaged within each other and you're kicking the ball, other than like the old school kind of the old school like fake handoff or reverse the other side. But
I mean, I'm sure we're gonna see some of that come season. I would not be surprised at all if some people try to pull some trickery or try to have some design kickoff plays that they run at certain points in the game, or I think that's what's kind of exciting about it. But the other thing that's kind of, and I kind of thought about this just on my own, that we may see maybe like a new breed of kickoff specialists and kick return specialists. The days of the Devin Hesters and the oh my God, who was the other guy? Yeah, Dante Hall, Josh Cribbs. That's who I was thinking of.
No, you were thinking of Dante Hall, dude. Dante Hall is better than Josh Cribbs. Come on.
No,
is it Hester that came back? That like was out of the NFL, then came back. I mean, like who was the guy? The Raiders had him for a couple years. He was on Atlanta. A special kick returner, but
Cordell Patterson.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Patterson.
He's still around. Yeah, he's with
like he was gone for a little while, but now with this new rule, he's back.
Yeah, he goes wherever Arthur Smith goes.
Yeah, I was just about to say, yeah.
Arthur Smith loves that man.
Yeah, he was with the Falcons for a bit, and he was actually pretty solid on there.
He's not
he was
bad.
A running back. Yeah, he's got a big frame.
He's a hybrid guy. Yeah, wide receiver, kind of everything. But yeah, I mean, I agree with Rick though. You definitely have to, just from watching how the preseason, it's obviously being tweaked and worked out, but you definitely need speed, but you need like powerful speed at the line on the.
You need to be elusive.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you could just go put 11 corners out there and say, okay, like block and be fast. Like you need like quick twitch linebackers that can kind of hold their own, but be quick enough to make moves. And so maybe that is why. I mean, let me look at how many the Chiefs kept, how many linebackers they kept, because they usually they kept 5, so they kept one more than they normally do. So
it's got to be a part of it. What about your team, Robert? I mean, I know you guys have your computers.
Yeah, Chargers had Chargers had 4.
What's that supposed to mean?
Yeah, Chargers had 4 interior linebackers and then 4 outside linebackers, but obviously that's just basically classified as D end. So yeah, basically 4.
So maybe a little added.
Yeah,
I don't know, but they definitely. I mean, that stuff's got to get tweaked out a bit. I know in the first preseason game, they didn't. There was like Hardman had like touched the ball on the 1 and went to knee down, and then it was like a safety.
Oh yeah.
We're like in the old rule, it was just on the 25.
Well, no, it was the old rule was if you as a kick returner were in the end zone, like your foot was touching it, and then you touched the ball, you got it at the 40 because it was a penalty technically on the kicking team. It was like an illegal
I thought
kick.
It was 35.
Or maybe no, it was on the 40, and it was it's basically like an illegal kick penalty because it was the same as the kick going out of bounds. So now if you do that, it's a safety on the receiving team instead of it being So
damn.
it's tough.
Yeah, well, that happened. Yeah, week 1 preseason for the Chiefs. But yeah, I mean, I agree with kind of what you were talking, like the players you talked about. I prefaced at the start of the show. I was shocked that Amir Abdullah didn't get cut, but
I think it's just because and I can tell you, Alex, what it was is like we all talked about, or I talked about Lobby in the preseason.
Yeah,
and in training camp. Well, the training camp and the preseason were 2 different animals with him. And granted, it could be because, you're got your 3rd, your 4th stringers in there. You got a quarterback that's part of Bradley or Nathan Peterman. Who? But he did not look like the Lobby that we, you hear all the stories about in practice.
Yeah.
So was a totally different tales. It's like, great during practice, not so great during the games. So actually, he's rated the number 4, 4th running back. Which again, they're only keeping 4, but he's the 4th stringer. And I thought same thing. I mentioned it on the show. I thought Abdullah would be gone just because how awesome that Lobby was playing. But yeah, he just didn't show it in the games.
Here we are.
And then I'll leave it on one last note. So Guyton. Robert, one of your old guys.
Oh, yep.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
And he lost his job to a UDFA, Ramal Keaton. And again, another just didn't really hear much about him the whole preseason. Didn't hear about him in the first, couple, games. But against the Niners, I guess, he played phenomenal. Made a catch, one-handed catch kind of behind his back, and that got him a roster spot. So,
hey, sometimes it's the most recent thing that happened than
the
resume as a whole, right?
I just want to point out something real quick, something that concerns both of our GMs, Jack. I just saw a tweet that Joe Ortiz has made more trades to acquire talent today, than Tom Telesco ever made to acquire in the preseason, regular season time frame in his entire 11-year career.
That's crazy.
Damn.
One
he
trade
never
he
moves.
made. One trade he made in the preseason and regular season in his entire 11 years here. And that is why the Chargers were consistently just losing franchises, because we never made any effort to improve during the season or even right before. We were just complacent and happy with what we had, and that was that. So sorry, I needed to throw that out there because that's
kind of crazy. One trade in 11 years. I did not know that.
But you're talking just in this preseason,
no preseason and regular season combined.
What about draft? I mean, does he?
Yeah,
I know he doesn't
not
he only traded one time.
One
in 11
time
years.
In 11 years, all preseason. So start of training camp till end of regular season. One trade in 11 years.
Who was?
Wow.
I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't even tell you who the one trade. I almost feel like I have to look this up now.
You have to look that up.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
you can't dump that little tidbit on us and not give us the juice.
After the show's over, we're all going to be looking that up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Homework assignment. First person to get it to me. Pat on the back.
That is crazy.
That is wild.
Hey, Raider Nation, someone go look it up. and post
Yeah.
it.
Someone can look it up.
That's no. But
I
mean, that
we got
that just
5,000
goes to
people
show.
on this stream, so someone better.
Yeah,
I'm gonna start throwing that
man.
out there on some other Raider shows and just to see the reaction
Well, has
because
he
I'm blown away.
Has Telesco made any moves in his Raiders time yet? I mean, I guess not because they didn't.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. I guarantee you, Jack, you're not going to see a single trade during the regular season. The only time Telesco ever makes trades is after the season and right up until the draft.
And once.
That's pretty much it.
Robert, have you ever seen him do? Because again, everything that I hear on my side is that he doesn't move up or down in the draft at all.
Nope, he does not. He sits. He stays flat. And this is why I always say when people are like, "Well, Tom Telesco is a great GM. Look at all the talent he's gotten in the first round." I'm like, "Yeah, because half of those guys fell to him. Look at all the talent in rounds 2 through 7. It's like abysmal. It's 0 to none. His claim to fame is Keenan Allen in 2012 or 2013, and that was a third round pick. Yeah, exactly. But nobody else has been like. I mean, look at the Chiefs. Isaiah Pacheco, 7th round. Brock Purdy for the Niners, 7th round. Trey Smith. Like, dude, these guys are just like, there's talent to be found in those later rounds, and he just never got any. He could not draft past the first round. And I mean, this is what also, and that's what frustrated me more as our GM, is because he wouldn't trade in the draft and then he wouldn't make trades after. So it's like you're just straight staying pat. Like that's like, how big of an ego do you have to have to be like, oh, all these draft players are gonna pan out. I don't need to bother to go look for talent anywhere else. Like, we're good. Like, no, dude, that's
no. You gotta never stop. You always gotta keep looking. You gotta go under every rock.
I can think of multiple times last year we talked about, man, they need to trade for some receiver help. Like, just get one receiver or maybe that was 2 years ago. But I mean, maybe that was last year with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen hurt. But
wait, what are you talking about?
Like Telesco, like I know there was a point, maybe that was 2 seasons ago when they were basically like with Palmer. It was just Palmer out there.
Oh, yeah,
he didn't make a move. Yeah, he didn't. He made no moves to get anyone.
Nope.
You had a healthy Herbert on a rookie deal, and did nothing to bring it in. Bring something in. So yeah, that's crazy. I still really much want to know who this person was he traded for, and
I definitely.
Years.
Yeah,
who was his great white buffalo?
Probably like a relative or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was doing a favor.
Intern with the Browns, bringing him in.
Oh, you know what? I think I found what it may be. I think this is what it was. So we traded away Desmond King to the Titans for a 6th round pick.
That's it.
I think
One time in 11 years he got rid of a 2nd round corner.
Maybe that might be wrong, but or hold on, let's see. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. So these are players he traded away. He traded away 4 players in season ever in his entire 11-year span with us.
Damn.
4.
That's nuts.
That's insane.
That's your boy now, Jack.
Yeah.
It's like I mean, I really liked his draft that he did for the Raiders, but yeah, I mean, that's just kind of, that makes you nervous. It's like if you're not out there, like, always looking to get just better talent and improve your roster, that's just kind of nerve-wracking.
Yeah, he stays complacent.
And it's funny you said what you said about his drafting, because I can't remember who was talking about Howie Roseman with the Eagles, kind of the same way of like, these dudes like don't make moves and just let someone falls, right? Like, and they take him, and then everyone's like, damn, they're such a genius for taking that guy that 13 other teams passed on. Like, what a great draft. And then you go look at like Eagles, same thing though. Like, all these guys that fall, and then they talk about how they did such a good job, and it's like, where's all the depth? Where's all those pieces?
But the thing with Howie Roseman, though, is he does make trades during the season.
Well,
he just made a trade for Jahan Dotson.
Trades,
yeah. So like, I'm good with that. Like, yeah, if you just stay pat in the draft, but you're getting talent falling to you and you're turning it into on the field production, and then you're also making trades, looking elsewhere to bulk up the roster, I'm A-okay with that. It's when you sit pat constantly year after year, don't bother even inquiring about trades for other players, you have needs, and you just blatantly ignore them. That's an ego thing. That's I constructed this team. It's good enough what it is. We don't need to go look for
complex.
Yeah, no, seriously. Like, it seriously is. And that's why I called him Tom Telescope, because that's all he was good at. He was good at eyeing in on one player in the first round. He would nail that first round pick. Everybody would be thrilled day one, and then it was just, all right,
nothing after
cool.
that.
Well, let's see. I'm throwing darts and seeing who I want to pick.
Well, you know what makes it a little bit more nerve-wracking, if you think about it, with all the injuries your Chargers have had it just seems like it's going on and on and on and on. Every year, you would think then you would start trying to move some assets to replace these injured players. So, yeah, that's a little nerve-wracking.
I mean, hey, look, I tried to warn you, Jack. When it first got announced that Tom was going over to you guys, I was like, wow, that's. I mean, hey, I
more power to you.
Hey, I was happy. Get rid of McFired and Ziegler.
Well, yeah.
I'm like, okay, that. And since we're talking Tom, I think a huge part of that is that you got a rookie head coach. And the Raiders really wanted to do something that they did not want to. They've done the last two regimes. John Gruden and Mike Mayock tied at the hip.
Yeah.
Gruden ran the whole thing. And then McFired and Ziegler, it was the same thing. So they wanted to go a route when you got a rookie head coach, essentially. You wanted a guy with experience. So they wanted to mix it up, and they didn't want them one dependent on the other, because we saw that just did not work.
Yeah.
So they wanted to go a totally different route.
Those situations too, at least from things I know that we've talked about and read, like McFired and Gruden were very much like, I'm final say in who we get and what we do.
Well, that's Leatherface right there.
Yeah, right. Well, that's Leatherface. That's not getting
Josh Jacobs,
not getting CJ Stroud. All types. Yeah. It's definitely a different dynamic, and maybe even one. Well, actually, Telesco probably had final say with Staley.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah, but
that's why I wanted to address the comment that Rick said about the Spanos family.
Which one?
Yeah, I know. Well, it was kind of like
Rick's always been an active guy on the show. We appreciate Rick.
I love it. It was a string of three comments here where he says that the Spanos family is the problem and Harbaugh is the reason for the trades. Yeah, and all that here. Spanos have a deal in the draft as well. Telesco brought in talent. Spanos was in charge of salary cap and all that contracts. That is just blatantly false. It was all Telesco doing contracts and all of that. He's the one that signed J.C. Jackson to that absurd.
Yeah, did he apologize to the team?
Yeah, and then
that was crazy.
Into the locker room and apologized to the team for that bad of a signing.
I'm sorry, that guy.
Wow, he did. He had to apologize. Well, that's a good thing. I'm glad he's not doing the contracts here.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, you got to look at it too. Of like, who else were the Raiders going to get? You needed an experienced GM with an inexperienced coach. Like, it's kind of the perfect storm of here's this guy who's
division rival,
but at the same time, got that rival, their quarterback of the future, and some pretty competitive components.
But like I said, it's a lot of just guys fell to him. As much as people don't want to admit it, and Charger fans will admit it, Herbert fell to us. He was
there's Richie.
Richie. Yeah, I'll go circle back, Richie. I saw what you texted me about the UDFAs that made Denver. So we'll be sure that gets out there.
We'll circle back.
I'm surprised he doesn't have a crying emoji for Patrick.
Yeah, he did say that Tim Patrick was a big shock and that he is healthy. So all my speculation, you can forget about it.
Hey, Richie, send what his cap numbers are over to Alex. I'm just curious.
But yeah, like I was saying too, like Telesco, it's just a lot of guys that fell to him. It wasn't him, trading up and drafting Herbert. If he had done that, then I'd be like, hey, he saw something, because Yeah, because a lot of stuff coming out of that draft was Herbert's not NFL ready.
He's an introvert. He can't he can't lead.
He's not a leader. Exactly. It was the whole thing was he's got all the tangibles, but he's got none of the intangibles. So I'm like, hey, if you would have taken a chance on that guy, you probably would have been flamed by your fan base until they saw what he became.
Yeah.
But I could at least look back on it and like, hey.
Because he was third, right? Was he the third QB?
Yeah.
Burrow,
Tua. Yep.
Then him.
And the one thing I will say Telesco has, like, maybe he didn't have before, his assistant GM, which I think this is going to be the last year on the Raiders with Champ Kelly, he was actually up for the job too. So it came down between the two of them. And I think next year Champ will probably have his own position with another team. So, I mean, Champ's got that experience. So I'm thinking that he may have gotten a lot more help on some of those later picks. Then just, again, Telescope Tom, just focusing on first, maybe Champ focus on a lot of the other guys.
Yeah. But then you kind of look at the Raiders draft and it did kind of go that way, right? Like Bowers fell to them.
JPJ
fell.
Best player available. I mean, it's his MO.
You got
it's
almost like you've watched him do this before, right?
Man, it's almost like for the last decade plus, this has been the storyline. You see my frustration.
Right.
Oh, man.
$7
mil.
Okay.
But he did. I will say this. He did do something that a lot of people, a lot of the Raider Nation was upset with this. So in the third round, they drafted DJ Glaze. And on the board, he was rated a 6th round draft pick.
That was the reach. That was
the I was like, I wanted, Richie's estimate. That's who I wanted estimate. I'm like, okay. And we got Glaze. I'm like, what? But he actually is looking pretty good. He started pushing Mumford for that starting spot. So as a rookie. So I'm like, maybe he saw something that, none of us saw. So it turned out to be actually a good pick where I thought it was absolutely the worst pick in the entire draft, bar none. I hated it. And now I'm like, okay, I think there's a good shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rich, it looks like he's on my side with Tom Telesco. Just straight wants him gone.
He agrees, dude.
Oh, man.
But honestly, it'll be because I agree with what you were saying, Jack. Is I know Raiders fans have talked about it's Champ Kelly, right? I always want to say Chip Kelly, but talked about Champ Kelly and kind of what he's done. And so I'd be curious to see this season, it's almost like there's like 2 budding stars to run the front office. And did they bring Telesco in to kind of just get things going? And then next year, hey, Champ, you're ready. It's your spot.
Who knows? I mean, it sounds like it's for Tom, it could be a 3-year run.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the way he's set, the way everything's getting set up, it's a 3-year run. But every season is a new season. So if all these players turn out to be, garbage, well, then, I think, it gets reevaluated again next season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
what do you think I know we're on kind of roster cuts, but what do you think? Like, what do you think? Is there a number, like if the season goes like bad where they only win so many games, do you think it's like a hard reset, like AP's gone, Telesco's gone, hard reset again after 1 year? Or do you think there's some leash with everyone?
Ooh, I think there's a leash, but let's say if they don't win a game, well then it's a pure reset.
Yeah.
But I don't see that happening. So it really just depends on the individual players. I think, AP's got a longer leash than Telesco. But again, I don't see a reset.
Yeah.
I don't.
No, I think that's kind of counterintuitive anyways, right? Like when you bring in the guy that all the players wanted and make all these moves only to just let it go after 1 year. Like I agree with that. I just
think you're going to upset, guys like Max.
Yeah.
And, he put his stamp on it, and that, the defense is looking good. Yes, you got it. I think in reality, it's maybe like a hard reset on the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I can see that.
Gatsby. So if he doesn't, shine, then then I can see him getting replaced. Again, that's part of what I mentioned earlier, which I thought was bizarre. The guy likes to use his tight ends. You run a 12 personnel, and you only keep 3. I mean, how does that work? And when Brock Bowers
two
is
of them
going
are
to be,
like young beasts, though. So I mean, they kind of count as like 4.
well, yeah, but you're gonna move him around all over the place. You can play fullback, the slot, the outside. So he's not always going to be playing the tight end position. So that part really didn't make any sense to only keep 3. I thought they would have kept 4. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Tough though when you got Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer to be like, we that you need anyone else.
Yeah, no, that's really tough. I mean, this potentially has to be one of the best tight end rooms the Raiders have ever had over their careers. It takes me back to like Dave Casper.
I mean, it's certainly an exciting one. I think league wide they have one of the better ones now.
You might have the best 1-2 tight end punch in the league
on paper. I guess
on paper. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's
I know everything right now is on paper until the season starts.
The Raider Nation will like this. I've had one of my 7 fantasy drafts. So, Wild West
7.
pod, we're doing that. But I did put all my eggs in the Brock Bowers tight end basket. So in Bowers we trust.
In Bowers we trust.
Games, outside of 2 games of the year.
Brock.
Gentlemen, I have some not breaking news, but some news. I found out not who the player was that Telesco traded for, but I found out when it was and who it was. It was a back end roster linebacker. Didn't make much of a difference for the team, and this was at the beginning of his tenure. So this dude probably went a straight 10-9 years without making a trade anywhere in the regular season.
So that trade must have been a bust and scared him then from making any more.
That's gotta be.
It puts a fear in him.
Crazy.
He traded. Yeah, it's like it had to be someone that just got him.
Oh yeah. And at the beginning of the season, he got hired back in 2008, 9 or something like that. So yeah, probably no one that
expertise.
Yeah, just needed to say that.
But yeah, no, that is a crazy. I mean, that's a crazy stat though. But I guess when you think about it, there's really not like a whole lot of trades that happen as much as people speculate. Moves have. I mean. It's not like teams are just like wheeling and dealing like crazy all the time. So,
but one trade in 11 years.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that.
That's like a philosophy.
I just wonder.
We are not.
I just wonder if that's a record.
Average is. Yeah, like what do you think the average amount of trades is for a GM in their tenure? What do you? I mean, it's gotta be like at least 3. I think 3-4 is probably reasonable.
If we say
average.
If we call it, 5-year tenure, right? Let's just play it modestly.
Yeah.
5-year tenure, probably. I mean, I'll say 5. I'll say maybe 5 or 4, a trade a season, maybe a little less than a trade a season. But I mean, if you're a good GM, you're making trades. You're looking to constantly improve your roster. That's why Howie Roseman. I mean, the Eagles. I mean, they went to the Super Bowl. And there's still,
that guy makes 8 trades a freaking a year.
Yeah.
Well, he traded for Kenny Pickett. Why? Because why not? Dotson. Why? Because why not?
Dotson makes a little bit more sense. Just a little bit more.
Does
sense,
it? So. I mean, does it though?
A wide receiver 3. And you're taking him away from a division rival. I mean, it's not
one that never used him.
Right.
I take Dotson twice in fantasy. I'm like, this guy's gonna pop. This is the year.
Nope.
So it'll be interesting, to see who's made the least amount of trades, in the history, and who's made the most amount of trades.
I mean, it's got to be Telesco, right? If he only made one in his whole time. I don't know, but I think it's that certainly has to be below average.
I think
especially is it's not like it was a team that had everything figured out either.
No,
for his time. So
if he would have been the GM of the Patriots, and you look back and you're like, "Oh, he didn't do anything." Yeah, well, they won, 5 Super Bowls. Yeah. And you're like, "Hey, he didn't need to do anything."
Dude, Beach, they traded for a guy. The Chiefs made a move. Which we'll get to that once we get off of this. But yeah, I mean, they make moves still. He trades all the time.
Yep. And that's what, and like I said, just repeating it, that's what the good GMs do. They always try to get better, and that's why the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Niners, the Eagles,
Shame
all
on you
these.
for saying the Ravens first. Savage.
you just be glad I didn't say the Chiefs last, but
Shame.
Well, I'm glad you put the Niners last. So
Yeah. No. But you're right. But those teams and Eagles, like those teams they're always making moves. They're always adding people. Like it's
Yep.
never let's keep the status quo because we were good last year.
Absolutely.
It's like proactively working to add something that wasn't there the year before.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
I get into year 53 now. Huh?
That is a crazy stat on Telesco though. Like I would
wild.
That's like
wild.
Now we all know that. So if you ever listen to a radio show and they're like, "What GM's made the least amount of moves?" I mean, I'd be willing to call in and be like, "Telesco,
yep,
give my tickets."
If they say
tickets cooler, what is it?
minimum 10-year career at GM, you know the answer is Telesco.
Yep, got it. So book that, everyone.
Yep.
That's our lesson for the day. There will be a quiz at the end of the week. So hope you were taking notes. Yeah, moving on to your reigning Super Bowl champ, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Hey, we're into opening ceremonies and stuff, so I got to start, reminding you. I wore the shirt of, when this run kind of began. Just to remember.
Get on with your 53, man.
So Chiefs, I mean, made a lot of cuts. I'll start with the, I guess, kind of shocker ones. But I know I talked about, I think Kadarius Toney's probably like the biggest shock one.
Was it a shock though?
Well, I mean, not to me. And I know I mentioned last week, like, he played himself off of the roster, but at the same time, I mean, this was a guy that was a top 15 pick, 2-3 years ago. And I mean, it's still relatively young and contributed to the Eagles Super Bowl. Like, I mean, them beating the Eagles, he had that punt return and a game tying touchdown. And then, this last season was just terrible. And I know I mentioned about him getting 2 penalties on one play in his limited preseason action. So it was just, I mean, it was time to move on. And they obviously signed Juju Smith back, right before cuts were made. So I think that only cemented Toney being gone. And, just looking at the wide receiver room that they kept, you look at, I mean, they kept Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, Worthy, Watson, Sky Moore, Hardman, and Juju Smith as your kind of 4 depth guys. And looking at that, I mean, it makes sense.
Do you like having Juju back? Do you feel as a whole?
I mean,
is that an upgrade?
I think it is actually, and that's kind of what I was getting at now. And the guys that they kept in the back 4 guys are all ones that you can trust to be in the right spot, run the right route, and do it at full speed. Where maybe outside of Hardman kind of missed the lines and F some crap up every once in a while. But I mean, it helps things when if a Rice suspension happens mid-year. Okay, I don't have to turn around and count on Kadarius Toney to be my wide receiver 2 because I know he's an athletic freak, but I got to just pray that he watched enough film and knows what he's doing to not F this up or drop a ball.
I was going to say Tony, the Stony hands.
Yeah. So I mean, it's different than when he was on the Chiefs the first go around because I mean they signed him in a prove-it deal of you're going to be our number 1 guy and either we'll pay you or someone will pay you, but you'll get money. I mean, he's clearly not a number 1 option for a team. I mean, unless New England's just that broken in terms of offense. But I think it is an upgrade over Toney because, I mean, he's a proven NFL wide receiver. He knows what he's doing. And it's not familiar with him, familiar with how Mahomes operates. I mean, I think Mahomes got 900 yards out of him.
Which is crazy when you really think about that.
and you're talking about adding that to Rashee Rice, Worthy, Hollywood Brown,
Kelsey.
It's hard. Yeah, I mean it's hard to not like that and just know that you have that. For like I said, if we get to week 8 and the NFL is like Rashee Rice suspended for 6 games.
Yep.
Okay, well, hey, Juju, it's your time rather than Kadarius. Please figure this out.
We're begging of you.
But yeah, so I mean, I think that maybe if they don't get Juju or maybe Kadarius is still on the team. But yeah, I mean, I think that I'm not going to call it the surprise, but it's definitely I think the big name cut that they had.
Right.
Agreed.
And I've like cut Justin Ross as well, who's always been I mean, might be
Deep
a little
threat.
bit unknown to anyone else, but he's always been a Chiefs Kingdom preseason All-American. Like everyone's like, it's Justin Ross season loading. Because I mean, everyone watched him ball out in that national championship game when he was at Clemson and just, thinks that that's who he is, which like he's always had flashes, but just never been able to crack into like a good role. So, I mean, that's kind of another fan favorite that was cut, but I mean, it was already a crowded wide receiver room.
Yeah.
Adding, really only losing one guy and adding 2, someone or 2 people are going to be the odd man out, and I mean, those were the 2 that kind of played their way into that situation over others. But yeah, I mean, and then other than that, just kind of cut depth guys across the board. Another interesting cut is Kamal Hayden, who was it's only interesting because he was literally just drafted this year. So I think he was 5th or 6th round pick. But he was I want to say 6th round pick, but I mean he was a corner out of Tennessee that he was hurt, which I think is part of why he dropped. And I mean had some moments in preseason, but just kind of collectively as a whole, a lot of the younger secondary guys didn't really no one really rose to the occasion in that there's a Snead size hole in the cornerback room.
That one hurt.
Who's gonna take that up? And that's why I think you saw him kind of spend some later picks on some secondary depth pieces to see if they could maybe find lightning in a bottle or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the first time in the Veach era that he's cut someone he drafted that year.
And I got a question for you since we're talking DBs. I heard Reed said they're going to do DB by committee. So who's the rotation?
Yeah, and I think that's just to start the year, honestly, because Trent McDuffie, first team All-Pro corner out of the slot.
Locked.
And I full faith that he's able to kind of step into the Snead role, but then you're also losing an All-Pro slot role a guy that you had. So I think that's going to be kind of the committee approach is to that slot. But yeah, I mean, your rotation right now, they kept 6 corners. So I mean, it's not like they didn't keep depth. But you got McDuffie, Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, Nazeez Johnson. Those are the 4 guys that have playing experience. I mean, Williams and Watson were starting corners on the team that beat or that went to the Super Bowl against the Bucks. And I mean, they didn't win that one, but I mean, they were rookies and drafted in day 3 picks that turned into starting caliber. So they have experience. Nick Jones and Chris Ronald Watson are the 2 young ones that kind of just offer some athletic upside in the slot. Roland Watson is the one that kind of took on the role in the preseason and played himself into a spot. But they also have Chamari Connor, who was he was a sleeper pick of mine going into the draft. He's like a tweener safety, but they've put him in. He's been kind of that hybrid, like nickelback role. So I think you see him play a lot of it too. And he had decent playing time last year. So they're not at a lack of people that have experience in the roles. It's just, I think, finding which one is going to kind of take the reins, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, looking at the cuts as a whole, I mean, they're nothing really overly surprising. maybe Lucas Niang as being another surprising one, and that's just mainly because he was a 3rd round pick. I want to say, I think COVID draft. He was a 3rd round pick, and he's always been mentioned as like the next in line to compete for one of these tackle spots. And he's just never taken advantage of that opportunity or been hurt. And then we see him, draft Kingsley in the 2nd round of this draft, and he's very clearly the left tackle. So Niang kind of got himself in a situation where he's off the roster, but he's still talking about I want to say 25, 26-year-old lineman that, has a pretty solid skill set and has started games for the Chiefs. So I thought, they must have a lot of faith in their younger depth pieces to move on from something like that. But that definitely is, one of the more.
Did he make it to the practice squad?
I think he did. That's what I was actually transitioning to. Yeah, he's the only one, and Justin Ross are the two that re-signed with the practice squad that really have, I think are the big name ones. And then we actually signed Samaje Perine to the active roster once Denver cut him, which is interesting, to say the least. But yeah, then obviously we kind of preface they cut the rugby player Luis Zammit. And I know they tried to bring him back to the practice squad, but then Jacksonville picked him up. So he is signed with Jacksonville. How they're going to use him is beyond me, but which I also think is there a rule? So like, I think about this in Madden, right? Like bear with me. I know I'm getting in off. Like in Madden, you can sign someone off another team's practice squad and then just immediately put them on yours. Is there like a rule in real life, like in the actual league, of like if they sign this guy, then I guess you have to always cut them first, right? They have to clear waivers.
Yeah,
or can
you got to put him in your active roster.
Yeah, that's right. Because I'm like, what are they going to do with him? And like, surely they like, why are they wasting? I mean, not wasting a roster spot, but I mean, he's not like I think watching the preseason is very clear. Like he needs just more practice and training and learning like the nuances of things. So
picture this, Alex. If you were able to do that in the NFL, there'd be every day a guy would be on a different team.
Yeah.
I mean, the shuffling would never stop.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. But yeah, so I don't think a surprising cut, but I guess kind of a more publicized one because it was talked about all off season, and I know I was excited about him, and I thought he was going to usurp some kind of this hybrid utility fullback role or just play on special teams. But like I said, it was pretty obvious that he hadn't played before, so he needs more time. He needs more time.
He also went up against a Man of Steel, so it's like,
yeah, right.
What's your chances against that?
But yeah, really, other than that, like no big surprises in terms of cuts. Like awesome to see Carson Steele, an undrafted free agent, play his way into this kind of fullback hybrid role that we haven't had. Unfortunate. I never want to bag on guys, but unfortunate to see Clyde Edwards-Helaire still in the fold. And then
who else were you gonna have? Let's be real.
Well, yeah, and the other guy would have been Deneric Prince, who I had some buzz during preseason, but he's another UDFA guy. So yeah, exactly. Who else would it have been? But like, damn. And then we saw him add Juju. Right before the cuts, they traded for Cam Thomas with the Cardinals. I think gave up a 6th round pick for him, who was that's always. So you talk about Telesco, they sit in drafts and let people fall. Veach's thing is he trades for guys that other teams spent an early pick on. He takes another man's trash and thinks he can make it a treasure. Kadarius Toney, prime example. Cam Irving, he did that, and so it's kind of the same MO, and none of them have overly panned out. But Cam Thomas, quality depth to your pass rush pieces with a Minihue still being hurt and kind of some younger players needing to come into the fold. So it's nice to see him make a move. But yeah, there's for the little Telesco lesson we gave people. There's the Veach one. If someone is labeled as a bust and was taken the first 3 rounds, I bet Veach is considering giving a 6th or 7th for him just to see. But yeah, I mean, other than that, just excited to get things going now that we got through these cuts and onto the and I guess I forgot to talk about because I know his coach.
Then you're going to pick up probably Brian Young's. He was cut. He was a 3rd rounder.
Yeah, right.
Style. Your GM may like him.
Go with that. They also traded for Peyton Hendershot from the Cowboys, a tight end that I think took in the 3rd or 4th round. So similar thing there. Similar track record. But yeah, I mean, that's essentially the Chiefs. Like no big, no huge surprises with watching the preseason.
Carlos.
And yeah, just ready to get things going. Yeah, I agree with you, Rick. Well,
Carlos was messing with you.
I know Carlos has just been going. I can't keep up with his typing. He's just speeding right now.
I don't know if any of you remember who this player is. Sean.
No, Carlos, don't stop, brother.
Sean Lessmore.
Sean Lessenmore was a linebacker on the Cowboys. That is the one player Telesco traded for in his entire career.
Who?
Yep. Exactly.
David, appreciate you joining, brother.
Exactly.
Damn, dude, that blows my mind. One trade in 11 years. Like, for who? Tom Lessenmore? It's not even like
Sean Lessenmore.
Might as well be a Tom.
Might as well be a Tom.
Might as well.
God. Tom must have learned his lesson more.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh man.
I do want to say as well something I missed when talking about the 53 earlier. Nick Neiman, one of our linebackers, who I kind of talked a little bit about in previous shows.
Steven Neiman, baby.
Yes.
Neiman
is your former Chiefs player's brother.
Yeah. Iowa.
He's on the IR to start the season, so I assume he'll be coming back at some point. And I think we have like 11 DBs in total on the roster, safeties and cornerbacks. So I'm assuming one of those is probably going to get sent down to the practice squad when he comes back. But yeah, we're definitely.
Is it the short-term IR or the full IR?
No, it's the short term. It's a short-term IR.
Yeah, I think
first 4 weeks of the season.
And that reminds me, that Faison, they kept him on the 53, but they put him on the year-ending IR. So why even keep the guy? He hasn't played, the whole last season, this season. I don't get it. So
he's already out.
He's got something on Telesco.
He probably does.
Well, I mean, he probably has the same thing on Telesco that Stick has on the Spanos group, because I have no idea. Well,
no, that's TBD. Okay,
that's TBD. That's
we'll
TBD.
See. If he's not off the team in
if we run 3
days,
QBs, if we run 3 QBs,
you're like
that would be awesome.
He has something
not off the roster in 3 days.
If he's on the roster, you better bring us like a broomstick in.
I'm just gonna bring a regular stick.
If he's on the roster, you gotta just buy a jersey at that point.
Out of spite.
Yeah,
out of spite.
Stick.
That'd be the one jersey I'd burn if I ever came to it. Oh man,
so much hate for one man. It's something that maybe it's just the North Dakota State QBs. They somehow practice
find ways.
I mean, think about it. Wentz, Lance, Stick. Why are these guys still around?
Isn't he North Dakota too, Allen?
Josh Allen's Wyoming.
Yeah,
Lance is North Dakota State.
No, I was gonna say Lance is the product of John Lynch and the Niners. I don't think that was I don't know what dirt he has to keep a job right now, but the Cowboys thought he'd be worth what they trade a 3rd round pick for him.
Yeah, they thought they fleeced him. They're like, well, we got these fools. Biggie, Richie is tied up today, so
no, tell him the truth. He's crying because Patrick got cut, so he didn't want to.
Okay, I didn't want to get into like HIPAA violations, talk about his therapy and stuff. But yeah, if you must know, Tim Patrick, that cut him deep.
Cut him deep. Oh my God.
MHRT did not cut him as far as I know of. Legally, I cannot speak for the network. Not part of it.
Richie is not on waivers. Don't worry.
Richie is not out on the waiver wire. Wait to see if he gets on the P squad. He's still on the squad.
The Lightning
this week, he just got the Wild 3 rather than the Wild 4.
The Lightning Fast podcast would pick up Richie in a heartbeat if he hit waivers.
Right? Biggie, we've already talked about the Broncos, but if you got a surprise cut or something you want to talk about, we got a little bit more time here.
Oh yeah, we got about 10 minutes or so.
I'm down to go over something if you would like.
Anyone in chat say what was your most exciting pickup? What was your the drop?
Player that you
people
watching. I better see some comments. Come on.
You and that
I got the viewing bots on this one. I paid for this service. Elon's going to be paying us before we know it.
Elon, man. Oh, imagine that.
Yeah.
Well, you guys aren't getting paid. I'm getting paid.
You guys are getting paid?
You guys are getting paid?
I'm
Oh man. What's that movie where they say that? They're like bitching about and then that one kid's like,
We're the Millers.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at what's the biggest free agents. Okay, here's a question. Here, we'll pose this question for everyone. We can kind of round table this real quick. But what's the one position group after all the cuts you think still needs the most improvement?
Ooh,
with your
that's
team?
A good question.
Yeah,
I got it right now. All right, now I would say it'd be my defensive back room, so my cornerbacks. And I'm still looking. The talk is, again, it's been in there in the beginning. It's still there now. It's the hell's Howard's deal? I mean, I guess he was wanting too much money and they don't want to pay him. But Xavier Howard's number one on my list right now. I want to see the Raiders bring in. They got $34 million in cap space right now.
They could definitely get him.
And that would definitely. I mean, Bennett's showing out, but
going on. He's just been knocking too many people up and giving them diseases.
What is it with the secondary guys? I mean,
what is it? It's Miami, dude.
Yeah.
Hey, we got to play you guys.
Think about it, Miami. How many chicks probably sit out of the damn practice facility like hey, Tyreek's got 15 kids. That's not even a lie. I'm not even exaggerating.
Tyreek and Xavier Howard were out there tag teaming, man.
This is Mike Daniels. He's got how many? He's averaging a kid per 100 yards.
That's why he demanded that raise. He's like, hey man, I got these 15 kids. I got to put through child support.
Who'd they bring in? Who's the guy they brought from the Giants?
Oh, I don't even know who they brought in.
Oh, no. Wait. But pause. So from the Giants, are we talking? No. He's on Philly now.
Bradbury.
Bradbury's.
That's not a bad.
You guys brought Bradbury in?
I haven't heard anything. Maybe it's happened. Since we started the show, I'm on my phone. But that is a player that
Darnay Holmes.
Oh no, we talked about him. That's the guy I said from 2002, but in his 2020 started with the Giants, 4th round draft pick.
Okay, yeah,
Big E.
That's my bad.
Fellas in the NFL.
Hey, Big E's only saying what we're all thinking. It's all right. That's what we love about him. He kind of just brings the intrusive thoughts to the show,
to the forefront.
Forefront. I do. I mean, I agree from my Chiefs perspective, Jack, in that I think the cornerback. I mean, specifically the cornerback room is the biggest need left on our roster as well. I too am on the let's sign Xavier Howard train, but you guys obviously have, I think, more. I have no governor. I have one speed.
All gas.
I mean, room governor, not no governor. I mean, no, there isn't no governor because he got cut. That was one of the guys at UDFA that I thought was going to be, our backup defensive back, on the slot. because he definitely outplayed Devonshire.
Yeah.
And it's like I was like kind of surprised when he got let go, but it made sense after Harper got signed, because Harper's a safety slot guy, so I can see the improvement there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like corner. I'm all for bringing it in, but then I'm looking at who's available. That's what I was trying to pull up, and it's like really, unless their name's Avian Howard, there's not anyone that I would like be really writing home about, unless this was 10 years ago, and I'm like, damn, we got Patrick Peterson. That'd be sick. But dude,
Alex, go sign J.C. Jackson, bro.
Right? Yeah, and then he turns into a baller again. That would be the way. But yeah, what about your Chargers, Robert?
Yeah, for the Chargers, it's tough because I really I haven't really been able to say this for a while, but I'm actually pretty happy with the roster we've had, given what moves we made and stuff like that. In the draft picks and whatnot. It's just a lot of unprovenness throughout a lot of these position groups, so it's kind of hard to say like which one needs bolstering or bulking up. I think if I had to choose one, it would just be the tight end group, but even that's a little tough because those tight ends are there for a reason. They're there to block, because that's what so like that's probably the one position group I'd say is the tight ends. I'd love to have, and that's why I would have liked to have Parham, because he would have been like really the only receiving threat. I guess they feel Hayden Hurst can be that, but I'm really not too keen on that. If there is a prop bet about Chargers total tight end receiving yards this season, I would take whatever under they have the line at, because I do not see our tight ends getting the ball at all much this season. So yeah, that's probably the one position group I'd say is the tight ends. Although they're Harbaugh's guys. They're all there to block. So they're just three extra linemen basically.
They gotta know their role and just do it.
Yep, and catch the occasional
something in the
pass
flat every once in a while.
So Robert, what do you think the percentage is going to be this year? I mean, you look at your tackles on your offensive line and Harbaugh's way, and you just mentioned your tight ends, being blocking guys. I mean, is the ratio going to be like 60% run, 40% pass? I mean, what do you think it's going to be?
You know what though? I honestly wouldn't. I don't think it's going to be as drastic as people think. Yes, our main, play call, and I'll just say 50 or north of 50% is going to be running the ball. Like, I don't doubt that one bit. But I mean, and it could have just been because, it's the last preseason week and you just trying to see whatever you can get out of stick, and, you're not really too worried about it. But we ran 29 pass plays to 18 rush plays, in that last preseason game. So I don't expect Harbaugh is going to do what whatever game we're in at that moment is dictating. If the run game isn't there, if we're not picking up yards, it's going to be Harbaugh, or I'm sorry, it's going to be Herbert. If we're playing a strong pass defense and Herbert has looked shaky maybe to start a game or whatever, a series, whatever, then you're going to go more on the run game. But I don't think it's just going to be I don't think Harbaugh's going to go into the season like, all right, 60% and 40%. Like, this is exactly, we need to stay exactly to this. Like, he's going to be very fluid with it, very loose, and obviously, tote the rock as much as he can. But I think we'll see a healthy dose of passing. And I wanted to really quickly respond to Coach talking about why we gave up a draft pick. I can tell you why we gave up a draft pick, because you need somebody at that backup position. A 6th round conditional is nothing. I said it last week. I will happily give up a 7th or a 6th round pick for a backup QB, because Herbert does have that injury, although I know he's saying that he's fully healthy. But regardless, you still want some consistency. Yeah, you don't want stick. You don't want to stick in the mud as your QB too. So I think we brought up DTR, we brought up Jacoby Brissett or somebody else I believe as a backup. Tyler Heineke is even better than I was. Yeah, this is even better than what I was hoping for. I mean, a guy who went to the playoffs. I mean, started multiple games in a season. Like, I mean, this is I'm
living on a couch, man.
Yeah, you got to rewind the show, bro.
He's got that Kurt Warner American story, dude. That's something you want.
I might have to bust open a Heineken just to celebrate for him.
I mean, come on. He literally is. There could be a movie about him someday. I'm telling you.
Oh, I hope.
It may be on like, I don't even know, Oxygen or something, but there will be one.
I hope.
That man's been through the ringer. But yeah, okay. So sounds like
that might be a good place to end it. I think, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think we
we
went through. We went through all of our cuts, our surprise cuts, kind of our review of.
It's a backup. It's a backup, coach. We're not. We're out here thinking like this dude's gonna start, and he's
practice.
A backup. Come on.
It's practice.
It's
Tubi.
All right.
Yeah, there we go. Catch
So,
the
Coach,
Taylor Heineke story Friday on Tubi for free.
I'm gonna ask Coach a question. So, who would you rather have, Heineke or Stick? Come on, Coach.
Coach, I better not see the first letters
Let's
ST
see
in that message you send.
I plead the fifth.
Yeah, exactly, Carlos. Exactly, Carlos. 63 points, and 21 of those were directly responsible.
Whose side are you on, Robert? Yeah, you're like a pseudo.
I'm whatever
pseudo Raiders fan right now.
I'm whatever side is.
Hey, come on over to the dark side. We can change that white jersey for one of these black ones.
Hey, we got the answer.
Oh, come on, man.
Well, at least we can end knowing there's some out there in the Bolt fam that is disgruntled right now about the state of the union. of the QB room. Oh, that's great.
That's
terrible. Man. This is a fun show, guys. I had
Absolutely.
fun. I said, I think we all made good cuts and moved on from the right people, and now we're getting into the nitty gritty and the full thickness. Things count now. So
can't wait. It's counting down.
Next week we'll be talking about the reigning Super Bowl champs opener, ring celebration, everything else. But more importantly, we'll be talking about regular season football, baby. So yeah, till next time, you guys know me. I'm Alex Givens. We got Robert Garcia, and of course, the man Jack Kenna. We'll see you next week. Wait.
Where the west side
is the best side.
Peace. When I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simpo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what? This is my lifestyle. Wait a minute. Work hard for the car.